So hello, my name is Tatu Ylönen. I wrote the original SSH software a long time ago and have been involved in various software projects and companies since then, and currently do research in computational linguistics. I studied computer science at Aalto University starting '87, graduating in '92, and then I did my licentiate degree in databases back in '94. So I was a database researcher, also interested in things like language already at that time. So I almost did my master's thesis on unsupervised parsing at one time. My first company was in information retrieval, so really finding the information, and we did some language processing in that context too. And then I've done 20 plus years in cybersecurity. I got interested in language and artificial intelligence actually in probably already in elementary school. I read the book Gödel, Escher, Bach, An Eternal Golden Braid by Hofstetter, which kind of had examples of different expert systems and some language processing technologies as well. And around the same time, I asked for some additional material from my Finnish teacher at school, actually, and then read Fred Carlson's book on Finnish morphology, and actually implemented my first software for understanding Finnish morphology on 8th grade. Now, the program didn't actually work, but I still wrote it. I had used MS-DOS and CP/M before that in the '80s while I was in school. And I was working while I was in high school, and I got a project that involved doing something on Xenix, which was an early Unix-like operating system for the 286 line of Intel processors at that time. And that's where I basically learned the command line and the basic programming interfaces. And then when I was in high school, maybe in the last year, around '86 or so, I got a new computer running 386 and installed BSD operating system on that. I actually wrote some device drivers for that, and that kind of was how I got involved in Unix-like systems more deeply. And that's basically what I've been doing mostly ever since. At some point I moved from BSD to Linux, but it's almost the same. MS-DOS didn't really have the kind of small commands that Unix has. So Unix and Linux have a lot of command line tools that you can do simple things like finding strings in a file or doing simple editing of files, digging information and formatting into a slightly different format. Like tools like awk or grep or even sed, or just languages like Python or maybe Perl, but Perl's a little dated, so nowadays I would rather suggest using Python for people. But these tools and the ability to combine them makes it very easy and fast to do simple things. And that wasn't really possible on MS-DOS. And Windows is, well, a pretty screen, but it's not really powerful if you want to do something new on the data. If you want to repeat some operation on thousands or millions of data lines or data items or files. So Unix is really great for that. Language technologies need to deal with corpora, with datasets that come in different formats. And so they are packaged into archives, so you have to extract them. Then you get a set of thousands or sometimes tens of thousands of files that you have to process. And it would be extremely tedious to go and click through them every time you want to test something. So you want to script things, so you want to program things so that it goes through every file, does something simple on them, gives you the results. And then you might want to tweak something and find a different thing and repeat. And the command line tools and scripts make this easy, and it's a really powerful tool for finding new kinds of data that maybe others haven't thought to look for yet and don't have a program for. And often you can write these scripts in a few minutes, so it's much faster than even looking for a sophisticated tool that would do just that thing. So SSH is a tool for using computers remotely over a network. So the idea is that it encrypts the connection, then you enter your password or keys or whatever authentication, and then you can enter commands into the remote machine as if you were sitting at the keyboard at that machine. And it also transfers files and can connect you to applications securely over the network. And it's sometimes a nice way also to go through firewalls and other gateways to get to where you want to go. And that has been very important for things like managing web servers in the cloud, managing servers in remote data centers, or for researchers to collaborate when they use servers at a shared data center or at another research institute or want to exchange files with others. So before SSH, there were tools called like Telnet and FTP that would send everything in the clear. And at that time, there were hacking incidents every week where some hacker had installed a program on a computer that would listen to traffic in that network and basically collect usernames and passwords from the network traffic and then use those to break in. And there was a hacking incident like this in the Finnish university network where somebody had installed a password sniffer on a server, and when it was found, there were thousands of usernames and passwords in its database, including some from my company. And at that time, I was using systems from the university, from my company, and from home, and basically logging in back and forth between these systems. And I wanted a tool that I could use to safely connect from one system to another without having to worry about somebody stealing my password. And that's how it started. And so I started learning cryptography, I started learning network programming, and I had a prototype, installed it on a few machines. Some friends gave additional ideas on what to add to it. And about 3 months later, I published it as free software on the internet. So it was actually a fairly quick project initially. And then 6 months later, I was getting 150 emails per day from people needing support or help. And that's when I started a company around it because I just couldn't cope with that load anymore. And companies and universities were asking if they could buy support services. And it became pretty popular pretty quickly. So in encryption, the first thing is is how do you make sure that you are talking to the person or machine that you want to talk to? Because there could be somebody in the middle who intercepts the communication and then talks to the other one. So there are keys, cryptographic keys that are used to identify each machine and sometimes users too. And then using these keys, it does what's called a key exchange. So it basically creates a new key for every connection and uses these keys to make sure that the keys between the parties that you want it to be with. And then it uses that key with just traditional encryption algorithms like AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, to encrypt the bulk of the data. So it kind of creates a secure tunnel between two computers. and then within that tunnel, it can multiplex one or more terminal sessions or file transfers and so on. It's really hard to estimate. It's definitely in the millions, could even be tens of millions. About half of world's websites are managed using SSH. Pretty much all the cloud services are managed using SSH on some level, kind of in the infrastructure. Every Mac ships with SSH, though most users probably don't use it, but especially software engineers do use it. So really hard to say. It's become one of those tools that are sort of the plumbing of the internet that make the internet infrastructure, the cloud services work, enabling system administrators in remote locations uh, to uh, to administer machines anywhere in the world. It's sort of an enabling technology for a lot of things. It did the right thing at the right time, and it was easy to use. I think those really are the answers. Also, given that it's security software, I think that it was open source helped a lot, so that people could verify it, see that it kind of seems to do what it's supposed to do, so they can trust it much more than some closed software that they cannot verify.